So basically, last episode we covered sort of this little cannon here, this little one stacker hybrid that we turned into from this little guy. This one stacker, well, not even one stacker really. It's just a dry scatter. So what we're going to do this episode is we are going to get into our first concrete cannon. So the difference between sort of this thing and a concrete cannon is we're actually going to want a bit more power on a concrete cannon. Because this is ultimately, you're going to be raiding sort of bigger things with a concrete cannon. You're going to be raiding like bases with multiple walls, so really you're going to want a bit more range on it. You're also not going to want the concrete to dip down, so ultimately you are going to want a higher velocity for it as well. So we'll just get into that now. So with this, because I don't really have too much to talk about this video, I'm going to be showing you a new wiring technique as well called observer wiring. So what we're going to do is we are going to start planning. So sort of in a similar vein to that cannon there, we're going to have some TNT here, 2, 3. We're actually going to have a little bit less TNT because I'm going to make this quite a tall cannon instead, because one thing that observer wiring does really lend itself to is you can have these big pillars of observers that go up quite high. And then after that, so we're going to maybe boost everything to here. Because we're going to have a lot more power, we can probably afford to use a trapdoor here instead. So we're going to have a trapdoor there, and we're going to have our piston here. Have a bit of concrete here. Let's use pink. Right there. So this concrete will push out, and it will start falling, and we'll shoot it when it's about like halfway between this block here. So I think the magic number that we did work out from last episode was 36 ticks between your main power and your concrete. And now we need some scatter as well. So we're going to have 3 dispensers about here, 1, 2, 3, and our little barrel. So this is the setup that we're going to use. This is our scatter. We're going to have a power, and we're going to have a booster here. So we'll just quickly knock out the booster, just like that. 1, 2, and then we're going to have a button. Oops, there we go. So this button here, because it hard powers, I think it's hard power? Yeah, hard powers this block here. It's going to power both the redstone bits to the side, which in turn will power all of that. So that will be our first little booster here. And now for this TNT here, we're going to be doing something a bit different. So this is going to be observer wiring. You're going to want to learn this early. I did mention a few episodes ago when I did cover observers that observer wiring is incredibly powerful. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a piston there. Now, because observers activate when they detect a change in the block behind them, when you shift them up and down, they will detect that as a change and will therefore update. So what we're going to do is we're going to stack up 12 observers, which is the block limit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to do that here as well. Or we're going to do the dispensers. So when that bottom observer pushes up, it's going to land here. So we're just going to stack the dispensers up using // stack. Stack 11 up. See, now I've got a nice big line of dispensers. Now, one of the things about observers that you need to keep in mind, especially when you're pushing them with a piston, is you're going to want to push them back down after they're done. Because this is going to be completely useless if you push it up once and then it doesn't come back down. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a piston on the top here, and we're going to place a piece of redstone on the side as well. So what this is going to do now is when this pushes up, it's going to activate this block here. It's going to hard power that, which is going to in turn power that redstone, power that piston, and push everything back down. Now, we can't actually have a long pulse into this piston, because I talked about this a few episodes ago. Pistons are completely they're completely immovable while they're extended. So if this pushes up and we don't actually have enough time between when it pushes up and when it pushes back down again, it's actually going to lock it in place in the up position. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to do something called quick pulsing. So basically what quick pulsing is a very, very short redstone signal. I'm probably going to do a follow-up video after this one, explaining like redstone pulse lengths and stuff. But for now, we just need to know that we need a very, very short pulse in there. So I'm sort of just thinking about the best way to do this. Might just do sticky pistons, because that's an easy one. Just like that. Yeah, we can do this. So if we have a sticky piston there with an observer, this is going to push out forwards, and it's going to power that block there. Now, because that's an observer, it's detecting the forward change in position. It'll quick pulse this row of dispensers here, which will allow that to reset. And when the redstone turns back off, it'll pull the observer back. The observer will register that, power whatever's here, which is air, so nothing's going to happen. So it's only going to power once. So that's another neat thing you can do with observers, is you can get these sort of like nice little quick pulse mechanisms. So we'll just replicate this part of the cannon on this side here. So it's just like that. 1 / stack 12 up. Oops. It needs to be 11 up because it counts the bottom block. You won't get a length of 12 high. You'll get a length of like 13 high. You do / stack whatever up. So we'll just finish with that. And now we got these nice 2 big rows of observers. Now this is actually quite a bit of TNT here. So this is, how much TNT is this? This is 36, this is 72 pieces of TNT. So it's going to be a bit more costly than this cannon here, which is about maybe just over 30, maybe 33 pieces of TNT. 6, 24, 3. Yeah, that's 33 pieces of TNT per shot. This one's going to be 72 plus 6, 78. So this is going to be about 80 TNT per shot. Still not a lot in like the big scheme of things, but it's starting to get there. So what I'm actually thinking now is we'll probably just power this first. Just trying to think of like the nicest way we can power this without triggering that observer, but nothing's really coming to mind. So it's going to be quite an ugly cannon, but 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is gross. This is really gross. So just thinking now if there's any nicer ways we can power this. I don't really think of any, to be honest. Okay, I've got an idea for like a silly little clock that we can try, I guess. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to extend that piston first. And then we're going to chuck some comparators in. Now you'll recall, I think it was in the first episode that I discussed like these little capacitor circuits here. This is going to store a signal, and it's going to slowly release it. So what I'm trying to actually do here is I'm going to try and get this signal length right. So just before the cannon fires, it pulls, or when this gets powered initially, it'll pull that piston back. And then when it gets unpowered, it's going to push it forwards again, push that piece of concrete there forwards. But it's just going to be a matter of timing it. So we're just going to do something like that for now. That's probably like way too long, but we'll have to see. So I press that. Oops, something didn't work there. Oh, that's not bad. Did that work? I think that's visual. No. TNT fell. 132. There we go. Yep, everything's firing now. Okay, so another thing that we will need to keep in mind is the activation time of all these redstone components. So in this cannon over here, instead of using we used a repeater. But in this one over here, we're using sticky pistons and observers, and more pistons and observers. So what we're going to do very, very quickly is each of these is 1 redstone tick. So it's pretty much, it's going to be the same timings as that one. So you've got from the button press, which is 0, 1 for this piston to push, 2 for this observer to fire, 3 for this piston to push, 4 for this observer to fire. So after your main power, you're going to have 4 ticks 4 ticks after your main power, or 4 ticks after your booster, sorry, your main power is going to fire. But apart from that, oh, that's going to be a problem there. Okay, we've sort of run into another little issue now, where this observer here is actually powering that block there. So I'm going to put a repeater there so we don't get any more power to that. Holy, wow, did that work? I think that worked. This is such a dumb way of doing it. I usually just use repeaters. I've never done a clock like this before, to be honest. So is it working? No, I don't think it is. I'm gonna make it go a little bit sooner and just see if we can get anything with that. Oh, look at that. That's such a stupid setup. We're going to make it go a tad bit sooner as well, again, just so we can get that, we can maximize this forwards velocity. A little bit sooner again, I think. That looks pretty good now. So, there's no like residual Y velocity in it, so this is pretty good for the moment. This is it's a pretty bad setup, I'll have to say, for the power here, but I think it's gonna work. So what we're gonna do now is, this is gonna look absolutely terrible. I kind of don't really have like any good way to put like a signal through the bottom here. And I don't really want to do what I did on this side where I have it wrapping around, because that's going to be adding like unnecessary blocks to the schem. One thing I will do as well is this is quite a good habit to get into when you are building cannons like this. Is instead of having like, see how I've got like 3 repeaters all on like the same timing here, whereas I know I need this one because I can't let it get powered from this observer in that block. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to replace that repeater with redstone dust, replace that one with redstone dust, and I'm going to change it to 4 ticks. Ultimately, it's going to save you a little bit of money, and it's going to save you build time as well, because you won't need to be like switching blocks around. And you can see there, it's got the exact same timings. Anyway, yeah. So now we need to try and work out the best way to do this. I have an idea, and that's because we're using quite a lot of power here. We don't need to have the same problem as this one here, where I've got these 5 repeaters here. I've got this 20 ticks after my main power. I might just have this 1 tick after my main power, so it's going to go off super quick. See if that works. Okay. So, we have run into another issue now. And that is, this little booster here is actually, because this cannon is so small, this little booster here is actually pushing this this little thing here forwards. So there's a couple things we can do, one of which I might just like put a block there, to be honest. This is turning out to be an incredibly half-assed cannon, but I think it's going to work. Yeah, look at that. So, if we put a watered wall here, you can see how quickly that hybrid goes off as well. Because that observer, that's just 1 redstone tick. Water. Let's try that. This cannon won't auto, by the way. Just letting you know. Let's see. Boom! Look at that. Nice little hole. So I know this is kind of a bad spot. I'm not a fan of how this cannon's set up at all. But on the other hand, I do think it's quite funny. I haven't actually made like a 1-stacker concrete cannon before because I've never needed one. But here we are, I guess. So what we'll do now is we'll just test the range of it. So I'm actually going to copy this section of the wall here. Copy. And then I'm just going to like paste it. Just need to make sure it's like in the same same line. So no, we're going to start getting issues with range. Although, while I say that, I know we're going to have a lot of velocity because I do have that dropped on a trapdoor there. Yeah, after this lesson, we'll get straight into pulse lengths, and then we'll cover a bit more of the physics. Oh wow, look at that, vicious little thing, so goofy. Just that setup with the that little capacitor down the bottom there is just. That's something else, man. That's something else. So we're going to copy this again. Copy. And we're going to move it. I don't know, another couple blocks back here. Paste. Hopefully it'll just make sure that's in the same line. But, yeah, it's in the same line. Let's see if that blows a hole there. Bang. Fire again. I am using /fire here as well, just to remotely fire the cannon. Okay. So I think that's the upper limit of its range. Is how many chunks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chunks. It's not bad. A shitty little concrete one stacker. Now I believe what we can do as well is I'm gonna try and extend the range here. And I'm going to do that by trying to drop that concrete down further. So I'm actually going to reduce the delay for that capacitor there again. And just see if we can get the concrete on a lower arc and therefore get it high velocity. It doesn't look like that though. Looks like we are at the upper limit. Another issue could be that because I've had this TNT going off so early here, it might just be exploding just slightly in the air. And I'm not actually giving the TNT enough time to reach the wall. So what we might do is we might actually see if we can add some more delay to this little circuit here. So what's going to be the best way to do that? So I want to power that piece of. That might work, actually. That might actually give it a bit more delay. Okay. I think that was actually aging. I'm going to lower that block there. So basically what I think the problem is this when it explodes, because the TNT isn't reaching the top here, it's still got like this Y velocity. As I said, I'll get into all this next episode. I should have probably gotten into it earlier. But yeah, I've just dropped that block down by 1, so we'll see if that works. I don't actually have the hybrid on. It's embarrassing. Alright, let's try that again. Oh, look at that. Absolutely perfect. Such a bad cannon. But it's getting the job done. Oof. Sorry, someone's just messaging me about some stuff. So anyway. How many chunks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 chunks. I kind of want to get it to 10 chunks, as that is the buffer limit on complex. So if I get this to 10 chunks, that is like you can start raiding bases with this cannon, is what I'm thinking. But if we go a bit further, come on, paste. I'd love to see this work. My hopes aren't high, but so that one works. And it's gonna start dipping way too low for this one, I think. Oh, I think it's just too short. Oh wow. Okay, never mind. So it looks like I did need to fire twice there. This is such a bad cannon. You're gonna start running into issues with oceans as well. So basically, what an ocean is where you have like a lot of lot of water like built up in a large area, and it's going to start solidifying mid-flight. But if you want this thing to like raid like little 2-wall bases or something from about 10 chunks away, I think this is going to be the easiest way to do it. No real points for looking pretty, but it'll get the job done. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do now is, of course, we are confident with this little cannon. We think it's going to work. So what we're going to do is we're just going to water it, and then we're going to prep to fire it. So I'll just go with the thinking of the last episode where we want to water it. So we know we're going to have 2 explosions here. One for this back booster, so it's going to be TNT exploding here, and then there's going to be TNT exploding here because it's boosting all of this forwards to here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to place some water there, make sure it fills up that block, make sure it fills up that block. Yep, sweet, we're golden. So we're going to make a copy of this with world headed. Sorry, I got the hiccups here. Up one, I'm going to copy it. And then we're just going to paste it, say, just here. Such a bad little cannon. I absolutely love this thing. What color concrete are we thinking? We can do any color for the schem. So what's the most obscene color we can have? I think hot pink's pretty funny. I'll do brown. You can use like any colored concrete because all the concrete behaves the same. And just at the end of this video as well, I'll just discuss sort of like the finer intricacies of concrete. So, I think that's good, to be honest. This is hilarious. So, we got our brown little concrete cannon. We'll need to make sure we take that schem with this block here as well. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, before I actually take the schem, we'll make sure it works without protection blocks. So we'll just set that to cobblestone and we'll just fire it. I have a copy, so I'm not too concerned, but whoop. Oh, okay. Something's wrong. Paste minus O. So what paste minus O does is it's going to paste it around the origin of the cannon. So now we get into the fun stages of cannoning, and this one's going to be troubleshooting. So you have this with a lot of your cannons, by the way, where you think the cannon's fine, and then you test it, and it's like, it's not fine. So we're going to try and work out exactly why it's breaking. I don't really have any TNT spread. Okay, TNT spread's off. So I'll just walk whoever's still watching this video at this point through this what I'm doing here. This looks pretty much fine though, to be honest. If the TNT is dropping in the bottom, I shouldn't get any like extra Y velocity, so it shouldn't be like landing on this trapdoor. It should be like butting up against that trapdoor. So I'm actually not quite sure what is going on. Up one. Place bedrock. Cobblestone. Copy. Fire. Fire that again. Yeah, same issue. Paste minus O. So what we're going to do now is we know there's an issue with the cannon, so we're going to start turning certain parts of the cannon off. So I think it's either the power or the hybrid, because generally your concrete won't be exploding. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn the hybrid off. So we're just going to test the power. Oh, got a TNT field glitch here. Try that again. Boom. That looked fine. Okay. So at this point we know it is the hybrid. So what could be the problem? So what I'm sort of thinking the problem could be is it's losing the Y velocity on this cobblestone block here, or the X velocity, sorry. So it's actually not getting shot up high enough. So we'll just try replacing that cobblestone block with a slab there. And we'll run /# copy again, because we have the total area of the cannon selected, and we'll just try firing. Fill. Doesn't seem to be working for some reason. Oh, there we go. Boop. No, same issue. Paste myself. So now we do know that it is the hybrid here. So we'll just start troubleshooting this. Oh boy. I guess the first thing that we can do is we can actually just replace that with a ladder. This is gonna like greatly limit the range, but it will allow us to see. I actually don't want to be firing. Oh. Defill. Before we do fire it again, I'm just gonna turn the concrete off. Because I don't really want to be firing concrete, I just want to be testing the hybrid. There's the problem. Okay, so I think this issue here is the same issue with that booster there, pushing it forwards. So we'll just place a trapdoor just like that. And hopefully it won't push it out the front anymore. Wow, really? Oh, this video's gone absolutely horribly wrong. Okay. So, I talked about exposure in the last video. So what I'm actually trying to do here is I'm trying to... We could do something a bit different. And that's if we place that slab there. Place this here. I can't actually remember like the proper hitbox of the TNT. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try using a slab here. So hopefully what that's going to do is that's going to like stop any sort of exposure from reaching this point here, and then we won't need to worry about that block on the front. But we'll just have to see. TNT fill. Okay, I'm just going to turn the hybrid back off again just to make sure it does work. If it doesn't work, I'll place the slab in the other position. Okay, so that did work. So we'll turn the hybrid back on and see if this works. / copy. Same issue. I'm going to replace that trapdoor now with with a ladder. See if it gets boosted out the front again. TNT fill doesn't work. Great. For some reason, it's not copying like the cannon with TNT in it. So great. Boy, what an afternoon this has turned into. I turn the concrete back off. Spam TNT fill, make sure it is actually filled. And /TNT fill has decided not to work. Thank you very much. Come on. Are you serious? Well. So it looks like that that slab there is still giving expo to the power. So I'm just gonna drop a solid block there. That should stop it. Okay, great. Okay, this is no longer fun, I don't think. And for some reason it looks like I need to fire the cannon first before actually firing this bit. So I'll just try this again. I do need to remember just to place some blocks there. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what were the problems there? I think definitely expo to the front, but I think actually for the most part, there's something going wrong with this little timing setup here. So, 2, 3. I do want to change this up now, because I think, weirdly enough, what one of the issues was this little setup that I had here was actually reading this incorrectly or something, and it was actually going off way too early. So I'm going to try fixing that up. Just thinking of the nicest way to wire this, without making this cannon look terrible. It's going to power that bottom block there. I don't like that either. We can do that, but as I sort of showed like earlier, that's going to limit the range. So I'm going to want a way to maybe power that block there. Do something like this. Okay. /CE. Okay. Clutched up there. So sort of what this is doing now is this observer's reading the change in this dispenser here, which is that change in that observer there is being read by this observer here, and then that repeater is getting hard powered by that, and then it's firing. Hopefully this isn't too late, because you do have this problem with these little cannons here, where you do want this nice little quick hybrid, because the TNT will begin to actually fall out of that concrete block. Yeah, that's the case there. So we're going to reduce the delay a little bit, because when it hits the wall and the block's solid, the TNT is going to keep falling through it. There we go. That looks okay. We'll just test the range again. Just go out to this back one out here. This is the 10 chunk-ish marker. We'll place that there and /fire. Fire again. A little bit iffy. Hey, there we go. So that's sort of working at 10 chunks now, and we've got no more protection blocks. So this is going to be a fairly common occurrence in this series. It's just going to be like troubleshooting shit like this. Yeah, so we're going to end up with some pretty cooked wiring on some of the cannons, stuff like this. But yeah, learned something new. I never really wired like this, but then again, I've never made like one of these concrete cannons before. But this should be like a nice little 10 chunk one stacker thing that'll get you into like some crappy little bases. I did need to split up the water to put that slab in there, to stop the exposure from reaching the front, even though it still reaches the front. And frankly, I don't think it was even an issue with exposure to begin with. I think it was actually an issue with that wiring there. So I might actually just try removing that again. This is a good habit to get into as well, before I get like too sidetracked, is actually like trying to cut down the total size of your cannons. Oh, look at that. There we go. That's working now. So yeah, the issue, funnily enough, was never actually the power exploding there. It's the fact that these observers were set up poorly. But anyway, that's a nice little observer setup now. And yeah, so what we're going to do now is, this is one of my favorite parts of cannoning, is actually going through the schem and seeing if there's anything we can clean up. This, for the most part, looks pretty good. And when I do say clean up, I do mean like checking the schem for like bits of redstone stuff that doesn't need to be there. That repeater situation I showed you earlier. Yeah, I am still recording. And yeah, that sort of thing. I'm sure you can make this cannon look a shitload nicer. But yeah, I've already had enough issues dealing with this thing today, so we're just gonna make it a schem now. Showing everyone how to save a schem again. Move to player, go down. Oops. Move to player, go down. Okay, so that's that block there. Do you guys want a floor? Do we need a floor? I'm sure anyone smart enough is going to be like, no, to put a floor at the bottom so the TNT doesn't fall through the bottom of the cannon. So we're just gonna skip the floor for the time being. Anyway, we'll just place this one here. Just need to make sure we include that front little block there as well, because that's actually blocking, whoopsies, it's actually blocking that there. So we've got like most of the bottom there. We can make this a block lower. What's the high one? That one. And boom, got everything loaded into this cannon. So yeah, I'll upload this, and next few days I'll start talking about the TNT physics. Sort of like why I'm using trapdoors. So next video is probably going to be in depth on TNT physics and exposure. Because I haven't covered that yet, and I think I should do that before we start moving into the bigger stuff. But yeah, this is now your very own concrete one stacker that looks like complete shit, but ultimately it's going to work. So we save that as a schem, save that as snow tutorial concrete cannon. Some of the limitations of this cannon, just very, very quickly. This will not work on lavaed walls, but watered walls like this, it'll do at any Y level. So people that might not be familiar with the version yet are still using, or who are still just massing watered walls, this cannon will go straight through them. It won't work on laved walls, but it will do watered walls at any Y level, because that concrete solidifies when it touches water. I'll sort of like discuss like how concrete solidifies in depth, like when we start looking into concrete bypass and stuff with like 255s and 384s. But yeah, apart from that, that's going to be the video done. So hopefully you'll have a good weekend. Sorry for the marathon of a video, but generally that does happen when you're troubleshooting. So I'll catch you all later.